are some things that actually happen, but make absolutely zero sense. In 1518 in Strasbourg, a woman started dancing in the street, then another, then dozens, until hundreds were uncontrollably dancing for days, some even to their deaths. Doctors were baffled. Mass hysteria, ergot poisoning. Nobody truly knows why they just danced. Picture this. You're in Taos, New Mexico, and you hear a persistent, low-frequency hum. Only some people can hear it, and it drives them crazy. Scientists have studied it for decades. They've used sensitive equipment. No external source, no explanation, just the hum. Since the early 1980s, residents of Hessdalen Valley, Norway, have reported strange, glowing orbs of light floating through the sky. Sometimes they pulse, sometimes they shoot. They've been filmed, photographed, even analyzed by scientists. Ball lightning, unknown chemical reactions, still a complete enigma twinkling in the dark. June 30th, 1908, Siberia. A massive explosion, equivalent to 10 to 15 megatons of TNT, flattens 80 million trees over 2,000 square kilometers. No impact crater was found. Was it a meteor that exploded midair? A comet? A black hole? Or something even wilder? We still don't have a definitive answer for this cosmic mystery. Which one freaks you out the most? Let me know in the comments, and follow for more mind-bending facts. Forget what your history books told you. These ancient people were living in the future. The Romans were masters of concrete and aqueducts, right? But for their plumbing, instead of using lead, which was toxic, they primarily used volcanic ash concrete. That material is so tough and stable, scientists are still trying to copy it for our modern infrastructure. Ever need brain surgery? Don't worry, the ancient Egyptians had you covered. Hundreds of skulls show evidence of trepanation. That's drilling holes in the head. And get this, most of the patients survived. They understood surgical hygiene and human anatomy well enough to perform a procedure that was still taking people out in the 1800s. In 1938, a simple clay jar was found near Baghdad. Inside, a copper cylinder and an iron rod. When filled with an electrolyte, this artifact generates electricity. Was it a tool? A medical device? If it was a battery, it means humanity had electricity. 1,800 years before Volta. Science still can't agree on what it was for. Vikings navigated the open ocean without magnetic compasses, so how did they find their way on cloudy days? They used sunstones, calcite crystals that polarize the light of a hidden sun, allowing them to pinpoint its location and stay on course. It sounds like fantasy, but medieval texts and archaeological finds confirm this crazy, high-tech navigation. History is wilder than fiction. What's the craziest ancient invention you've heard of? Drop a comment.
What if a serial criminal was also a theatrical genius? In the dark alleys of 1980s Japan, a phantom stalked. They called themselves the Monster with 21 Faces. It began in Osaka, 1984, with a brazen kidnapping, then a twisted game of terror. Burning factories, cyanide-laced candy left on store shelves. They were playing with lives, but then a bizarre twist. After terrorizing one company, they declared, "We forgive Glico," a theatrical flourish abandoning their victim. The police were baffled. They hunted them relentlessly, only for the monster to always be one step ahead, a phantom, invisible, taunting them with letters. The police worked for over a year to no avail. The monster's final taunt: "We are bad guys. That means we've got more to do other than bullying companies." And then, as suddenly as they appeared, they vanished. No trace, no arrests. To this day, they were never caught. So what was their motive? To get money, or just to prove they could outsmart the system? What's your theory?
Imagine a disaster so strange it sounds like something from a cartoon, but it was all too real. Have you ever heard of the Great Molasses Flood? On a warm day in Boston, 1919, A massive tank holding over 2 million gallons of sticky, sweet molasses sat quietly in the city's. Without warning, the tank burst. In a flash, a tidal wave of molasses surged through the streets with the force of a flash flood. This was the moment the Great Molasses Flood began. It destroyed buildings and swept away everything in its path. The scene was pure chaos, leaving 21 people dead and over 150 injured. The destruction was swift and catastrophic. The city spent weeks cleaning up the mess, but the story of the Great Molasses Flood isn't over. To this day, on a hot day, Boston residents claim they can still smell the sweet, ghostly scent of molasses. It's one of the weirdest and most unbelievable true stories in history. What's the strangest historical event you've ever heard of? Let us know in the comments below. You won't believe what's happening just beyond our perception right now. Here are some mind-bending phenomena that could be unfolding around us every single day. First, dark matter and dark energy. We can't see them, touch them, or directly detect them. But scientists say they make up about 95% of our universe. It's the invisible scaffolding holding galaxies together and the mysterious force pushing them apart. We're essentially swimming through an ocean of nothingness that's actually everything. Then there's quantum entanglement. Imagine two particles, light years apart, instantly affecting each other no matter the distance. It's like a cosmic, instantaneous telepathy. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance, meaning your coffee cup across the room might be intertwined with something on the other side of the galaxy. And finally, the Earth's inner core. We know it's there, a super hot, solid ball of iron, but recent studies suggest it might be slowing down its rotation relative to the surface, and could even start spinning the other way. What does that mean for our magnetic field, our day length, or even us? Nobody truly knows. These aren't just theories. They're active, ongoing mysteries of our existence. What do you think is the wildest? You think you've seen it all? Here are some places on Earth that defy logic and science. First, the Hoia Baciu Forest in Romania. Locals call it the Bermuda Triangle of Transylvania. People who enter report feeling intense anxiety and nausea, and some have even claimed to experience missing time. Photos taken in the forest often show strange, distorted figures in floating lights. The trees themselves are twisted into bizarre, unnatural shapes. Next, the door to hell in Turkmenistan. This massive crater has been on fire for over 50 years. It was created by Soviet scientists drilling for natural gas in 1971. The ground collapsed, and they lit it on fire to burn off the gas, thinking it would only last a few weeks. But it never went out. It's a 230-foot wide pit of fire that looks like it came straight out of a nightmare. And finally, the Nazca lines in Peru. These aren't just drawings. They're massive geoglyphs etched into the desert floor, with some stretching over 1,200 feet long. They were created by an ancient civilization over 2,000 years ago, but from the ground, you can't even see what they are. You have to be in the air to make out the designs of hummingbirds, spiders, and monkeys. The question remains, why did they create these incredible images if they couldn't even see them themselves? These places prove that some of the greatest mysteries in the world are right here, waiting to be found. What if some things just completely disappear? In 1931, The SS Vicimo, a large cargo ship, was abandoned by its crew after being trapped in ice in the Arctic. But it didn't sink. For decades it was spotted sailing the frozen seas, completely empty. The ship was eventually lost, but no one knows what happened to it or how it sailed on its own for so long. In 1900, 3 lighthouse keepers vanished from Aylin Moor. The lighthouse was locked from the inside. An uneaten meal was on the table. Only frantic notes and a logbook offered clues. No one knows what happened. In 1948, an unidentified man was found on an Australian beach. No marks on his body, no identification, only a tiny rolled-up piece of paper with Taman Shud, meaning finished, in a secret pocket. Who was he, and how did he die? The Phantom of the Opera is a legend of a brilliant, twisted composer who lived in the catacombs beneath the Paris Opera. He was said to have kidnapped and tortured his victims, but he was never caught. His true identity and whether he ever truly existed remains a mystery. Which of these bizarre vanishings is the strangest? Tell us in the comments. What if the dying leave us clues? Here are some chilling last words that still haunt history. First, go on, get out. Last words are for fools who haven't said enough. These were the final defiant words of Karl Marx, the famous philosopher, just before he died in 1883. Was it a final, biting commentary on humanity, or a last, desperate attempt to reject the inevitable? A philosopher's final puzzle. Next, I will return and I will kill you all. This terrifying message was written on a prison wall by Ted Bundy, one of America's most infamous serial killers, just hours before his execution in 1989. Was it a delusion of grandeur, a curse, or a chilling prediction of his dark legacy, continuing to haunt the world long after his death? The true horror of his words lingers. And finally, the future is unwritten. Joe Strummer, the legendary punk rock musician from The Clash, spoke these words to his bandmates just days before his sudden, unexpected death in 2002. Was it merely an optimistic outlook or a chilling, almost prophetic statement about the sudden end of his own story, leaving his future indeed unwritten? It was his final enigmatic lyric to the world. These aren't just quotes. They're echoes from the edge of the unknown, leaving us to wonder what they truly meant. What if history's biggest secrets are hiding in plain sight? Here are some of the world's most mysterious codes that no one has ever broken. First, the Voynich manuscript. This 240-page book is filled with strange illustrations of plants that don't exist and astrological diagrams. But the real mystery is the language, a completely unknown script that has resisted every attempt at decryption for over 600 years. Is it a lost language, a brilliant hoax, or a message from an alien intelligence? No one knows. Next, the Kryptos sculpture. Located at CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia, this massive copper sculpture is a work of art that contains a real encrypted message. The artist, Jim Sanborn, collaborated with the former head of the CIA Cryptography Center to create it. For over 30 years, it has resisted all attempts at decryption, and to this day, 3 of its 4 sections remain unsolved, even by the world's greatest codebreakers. And finally, the Beale ciphers. In the 1820s, a man named Thomas Beale buried a fortune in Greece. silver, and jewels somewhere in Virginia. He left behind 3 coded messages. The first code, when solved using the U.S. Declaration of Independence as a key, reveals the location. But the other 2, which describe the fortune, have never been broken. Countless treasure hunters have searched, but the gold and the secret remain lost forever. These aren't just riddles. They're whispers from the past, leaving us to wonder if the answers will ever be found. What if history's greatest secrets are buried in plain sight? In 1936, a hammer was found inside a rock that mainstream science dates to over 100 million years old. A hammer from the age of the dinosaurs? The object itself appears to be a modern tool, leaving geologists and archaeologists completely baffled. In 1938, a Chinese archaeologist discovered thousands of stone discs in a remote cave. They were called the Dropa stones. Each disc had a small hole in the center and a spiral groove filled with strange hieroglyphs telling the story of an alien civilization that crash-landed on Earth thousands of years ago. The Antikythera mechanism is a device that completely rewrote history. Found in a shipwreck off the coast of Greece, this object is a clockwork-like device from the 1st century BC. It was a mechanical computer with gears that could predict solar eclipses and planetary movements. A technology so advanced, it wasn't seen again for over 1,000 years. In 1911, 2 explorers came across what they claimed was a lost race of human-like giants living in the Canadian Arctic. They were said to be incredibly tall and powerful. When the explorers tried to get close, they were chased away. The explorers returned to their camp, but the giants were never seen again. What's the one thing that still haunts you? Tell us in the comments. Forget the rules. Here are 3 nature glitches scientists still cannot explain. First, the sardine run. Off South Africa, billions of sardines spontaneously gather for the largest migration on Earth, attracting every predator in the ocean. The impossible part? Scientists still have no idea what triggers the massive event or why it doesn't happen every single year. Next, ball lightning. Imagine a glowing basketball-sized sphere of light floating silently through your house during a storm. Witnesses have reported them for centuries, but scientists cannot replicate it in a lab. They can't even agree on what it is, plasma, gas, or just some terrifying temporary physics failure. Stick around for the most unsettling mystery in Death Valley. Finally, the sailing stones. In a dry lake bed in California, heavy rocks, some weighing hundreds of pounds, move on their own, leaving long, distinct tracks. For decades, it was a total enigma. While scientists finally captured the movement, the complex physics that coordinate hundreds of rocks simultaneously remain a deeply confusing mystery. These aren't just weather patterns. They're glitches in our reality, reminding us how little we truly know. These are the world's most guarded places, and they are completely off limits. First, the Vatican Secret Archives, 50 miles of fortified shelves hidden deep beneath the city. The rumor? Alien contact, suppressed gospels, and true Roman history. It's protected by the most powerful organization on Earth. Next, Snake Island, Brazil. It is the most dangerous island on the planet, closed off because it holds 5 deadly vipers per square meter. The Brazilian Navy only dares to visit once a year. Finally, the Svalbard Global Seed Vault in Norway. This Arctic mountain bunker is civilization's ultimate backup plan. Built to withstand nuclear war, it holds nearly 1 million seeds. It is humanity's last line of defense to restart agriculture after any global catastrophe. These aren't just forbidden places. They are the most guarded secrets on Earth, protecting our future.